各位记者朋友，大家下午好，欢迎。
Good afternoon. Welcome to the press conference. Now questions, please.
谢发言人，总台央视记者提问。我们注意到，中共中央政治局委员、中央外事工作委员会办公室主任王毅刚刚结束了访俄行程。发言人。
We noted Director Wang just wrapped up his visit to Russia. Could you share more details? On February 21st and 22 local time, Director Wang Yi paid a visit to Russia. President Vladimir Putin met with him, and Director Wang also met with Foreign Minister Lavrov and held a meeting under the China-Russia Strategic Security Consultation Mechanism with Patrushev, Secretary of the Security Council of Russia. Director Wang noted, the current international situation is complicated and grim, but the China-Russia relationship, which has stood the test of the changes in the world situation, is mature, tough, and stable. The China-Russia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership of Coordination for a New Era has never targeted any third party, nor does it tolerate any third party interference or coercion. This is because our relations enjoy a solid political, economic, and cultural foundation, as well as calmness and sobriety from reviewing past experiences. More importantly, this is because a multipolar world and greater democracy in international relations, which we two countries jointly support, are in line with the trend of the times and aspirations of most countries. China and Russia always advocate and practice true multilateralism, oppose unilateralism and the bullying practice, safeguard our respective sovereignty, security, development interests, explore development paths suited to the respective national conditions, and tap potential for more cooperation. No matter how international landscape changes, we are ready to maintain the sound momentum in our new type of major country relations, and we are willing to work together to maintain strategic resolve, deepen political trust, strengthen strategic coordination, expand political cooperation, safeguard legitimate interests, and play constructive role in promoting world peace and development. Russian side noted, our relations are moving towards established goals under multiple mechanisms, including the SCO, BRICS, and other multilateral organizations, and we have fruitful cooperation and coordination. Strengthening unity and coordination is of great significance to promoting greater democracy in international relations and the balance and stability of the international landscape. We agree to strengthen coordination under UN and other multilateral mechanisms, to uphold the purposes and principles of UN Charter, oppose hegemonism and bloc confrontation, and promote democracy and a multipolar world. And we believe peace and stability in the Asia-Pacific should be firmly maintained, and the introduction of Cold War mentality, bloc confrontation, and ideological conflict should be opposed. They also had in-depth exchange on the Ukraine issue. We appreciate Russia's reaffirmation of its willingness to solve the problem through dialogue and negotiations. And we believe that we should continue to create conditions for dialogue and talks and find an effective way for political settlement.
提问，俄罗斯表示中方
AFP Russian said China has put forward some important proposals for the peaceful settlement of the Ukraine crisis, but Ukrainian officials said China didn't consult with Ukrainian side beforehand. Why is that?
问题上的立场。
China's position on the Ukraine issue is consistent and clear. China will contribute and play a constructive role in a peaceful settlement of the crisis in its own way. China has maintained smooth communication with Ukraine. Next question, please.
您好，新华社记者提问。我们注意到外交部长秦刚已结束对印度尼西亚的访问，请问
Foreign Minister Qin Gang has concluded his visit to Indonesia. Can you share more about the visit? On February 22nd, President Joko Widodo of Indonesia met with Foreign Minister Qin. Foreign Minister Qin also co-chaired the 4th meeting of the Joint Commission on Bilateral Cooperation with Foreign Minister Ratno and met with Coordinating Minister Luhut. President Widodo said, in recent years, Indonesia-China practical cooperation has yielded fruitful outcomes. He expects the two countries can implement the common understandings of the two presidents, advance BRI cooperation and expand cooperation in industrial chains and new energy. Asia is the center of world economic growth, not a stage of power politics. Indonesia is ready to work with China for regional peace and stability and post-COVID recovery. Indonesia appreciates China's support for ASEAN centrality and will handle the Myanmar issue following the 5-point consensus. Foreign Minister Qin said China is ready to work with Indonesia to act on the common understandings between the two presidents, adhere to high-level guidance, strategic alignments, and coordination, and pursue common development toward modernization. China fully supports Indonesia's ASEAN presidency and its efforts for greater progress in ASEAN community and East Asia cooperation. China will, as always, support ASEAN centrality and resolve the Myanmar issue in the ASEAN way. The 4th meeting of the JCBC reached a series of outcomes. Both sides agreed that under the strategic guidance of the two presidents, political, economic, people-to-people, and maritime cooperation has kept deepening, setting a good example for developing countries. The two sides will follow the leaders' guidance, strengthen strategic trust, promote progress in the building of China-Indonesia community with a shared future, deepen strategic alignments, and set a standard for high-quality Belt and Road cooperation, including Jakarta-Bandung Railway Project. We will continue strengthening cooperation in business, trade, investments, tourism, education, culture, youth and sports, and people-to-people exchange. We will pursue major country coordination and build a peaceful, safe and secure, prosperous, beautiful and amicable home together. The two sides will work with other ASEAN countries to fully and effectively implement the DOC, advance the consultation on COC, and jointly safeguard peace and stability in the South China Sea. The two sides will advance cooperation around the Global Development Initiative and the Global Security Initiative, deepen coordination under multilateral frameworks like the G20 and BRICS, and uphold and defend true multilateralism. Next question, please.
Hi, question from Reuters. So during Wang Yi's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday, Putin said that Russia-China bilateral trade would soon reach $200 billion a year and acknowledged a future visit of President Xi to Russia. Is this trade prediction accurate? And can you share further details of President Xi's expected visit? Thank you.
路透社提问，在王毅主任访问俄罗斯期间，他和普京总统会面的时候，普京总统称中俄双边的年贸易额达到2000亿美元。你能否确认这个数字是准确的吗？另外，报道称习主席近期将访俄，你能否透露更多信息？
刚才我已经介绍了王毅主任访俄的。
I shared Director Wang Yi's visit to Russia. As for your question, I want to tell you that China and Russia maintain normal cooperation and exchanges in trade and cooperation, and we have a sound momentum. The two sides maintain close communication on bilateral relations and world peace and development. On the interactions between the two presidents, I have nothing to share at the moment. Next question, please.
中方的记者。
中国日报，我们注意到访问印尼期间，秦刚外长还阐明了发展中。
China Daily. During his visit to Indonesia, Foreign Minister Qin also explained China's position on its relations with ASEAN. Can you share more? Indonesia is the rotating chair of ASEAN. A priority of Foreign Minister Qin's visit is to promote development of its relations with ASEAN. During the visit, Foreign Minister Qin and Foreign Minister Ratno jointly met the press to express support for ASEAN's strategic independence independence. Foreign Minister Qin said that China takes ASEAN as a priority in its neighborhood diplomacy. It supports Indonesia as the rotating chair. New Cold War major country competition should not appear in Asia-Pacific, and regional countries should not be forced to choose sides. We hope ASEAN countries will make independent choice in the interests of regional peace, stability, and development. China supports ASEAN's strategic independence and solidarity, support ASEAN centrality and inclusive regional architecture, and oppose group politics and bloc confrontation. Foreign Minister Ratno said that Indonesia supports regional peace, stability, and prosperity. ASEAN should not become a proxy of any power. Indonesia will perform the duty of ASEAN rotating chair and continue to enhance cooperation with China. Foreign Minister Qin also met Secretary General Ko Kim Hoon of ASEAN. Foreign Minister Qin said China stands ready to work with ASEAN to promote the building of 5 homes with ASEAN, enrich bilateral comprehensive strategic partnership, and promote new progress in China-ASEAN cooperation. The Asia-Pacific face the choice between peace and confrontation, between cooperation and division. China supports ASEAN centrality, supports ASEAN's strategic independence, openness, and inclusiveness, not choosing sides and not targeting at any third party. We would like to work with ASEAN countries to jointly tackle challenges, resist decoupling. The Secretary General appreciates China's support. He expressed willingness to work with China to bring the ASEAN-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership to a new stage and safeguard regional peace, stability, and prosperity. The two sides agreed to accelerate negotiations on the free trade area, implement RCEP, celebrates the 20th anniversary of China-ASEAN Expo, accelerate negotiations on COC. Foreign Minister Qin also met members of the Committee of Permanent Representatives to ASEAN. The two sides believe that cooperation between the two sides are mutually beneficial and vigorous. The two sides will synergize strategies, hold events in the year of agricultural development and food security cooperation, expand cooperation, enhance connectivity, and strengthen resilience of the supply chain. Foreign Minister Qin stressed that China will continue to support ASEAN solidarity and ASEAN community, improve economic development, promote regional stability, and strengthen cultural and people-to-people exchange, and enhance China-ASEAN Comprehensive Strategic Partnership.
AFP yesterday, President Biden met with NATO and European leaders. On the Ukraine issue, they reiterated their support for Ukraine and saying that they would strengthen support in the Black Sea. Do you have any comments?
是一贯明确的。
China's position on the Ukraine issue is consistent and clear. We always believe that conflicts and wars will produce no winners, and dialogue and negotiation is the only way out. We hope all parties will have a responsible attitude and play a constructive role in promoting peace talks. Next question, please.
谢发言人，东方卫视记者提问：在近期举行的联合国常规弹药问题开放式工作会议上，中国等国。
The UN's open-ended working group on conventional ammunition recently held the 3rd substantive session, and China and other countries called on parties to refrain from transfers of ammunition to non-state actors, but U.S. opposed that. Do we have more information? The UN's open-ended working group on conventional ammunition held the 3rd substantive session from February 13 to 17. China proposed all parties should refrain from transfers of ammunition to non-state actors and conduct transfers to the conflict-affected areas in a prudent and responsible way, called for stronger international oversight. Many developing countries voiced their support, but the U.S. still opposed to that. As is known to all, the U.S. per capita gun ownership is unmatched in the world. Gun violence become a recurring nightmare for Americans. The U.S. loose management of small arms and light weapons and ammunition, flagrant export and transfer of military articles to non-state actors is of equal concern. Its gross interference spurs armed conflict and social chaos in other countries, and a large number of ammunition from the U.S. cannot be tracked, and some even fall into the hands of terrorists, posing great threat to regional and international peace and stability, according to data from U.S. State Department. U.S. foreign military sales in fiscal year 2022 increased by nearly 50%, primarily due to the escalating Ukraine crisis. The endless supply of weaponry from U.S. and other Western countries to Ukraine has not only led to protracted crisis, but also fed international criminal groups who have smuggled weapons. Both Interpol and Europol have warned about this, and an African leader once said the war in Ukraine serves as a major source of weapons that bolster the ranks of the terrorists in the Chad Lake. And even the U.S. itself cannot deny that the Ukrainian officials don't know for sure where the weapons delivered by the U.S. have and will end up. The Mexican government attributes most of the violence in the country to weapons originating from the U.S. And the IS and the TTP in Pakistan have been found to use U.S. weapons, according to Center for American Progress from 2014 to 2016. Across 15 countries in North America, Central America, and the Caribbean, 15,133 guns that originated in the U.S. were recovered as part of criminal investigations. That means during the span, U.S.-sourced guns were used to commit crimes in nearby countries once every 31 minutes. And the export of weapons is just the tip of the iceberg. What the U.S. brings to other countries is not democracy and human rights, but the scourge of livelihood woes and social instability. The U.S. needs to come to realize that the more such export is, the worse it will backfire. Instead of stirring up trouble, the U.S. had better look harder into what it can do to truly deliver something good for the international community. Next one, please.
Hi, Reuters again. So I have two questions. The Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, said that Canada must be on guard against foreign election interference following media reports that China tried to influence the 2021 Canadian election. What's China's comment? Second question. The Canadian Defence Ministry said it's aware of recent maritime and air surveillance attempts by China. What's China's comment on this? Thank you.
路透社提问，第一个问题是加拿大总理特鲁多称加拿大要继续防范中国干预，因为他提到了2021年的时候中国曾经对加拿大的选举进行过干涉。第二个问题是加拿大的国防部长表示也应该对中国的监控表示继续加强防范，你对此有何评论？请记者再重复一下第二个问题。Could you repeat your second question? (第二个问题，加拿大国防部称加方注意到近期中国试图在空中和海上进行监控。
反对。
China opposes non-interference in other countries' internal affairs. We have no interest and will not interfere in other countries' internal affairs. The relevant parties should stop smearing at China and stop misleading the public. Next question, please.
谢发人，深圳卫视提问。据报道，2月23日上午，中国太平洋岛国防灾减灾合作中心启用仪式在。
The inauguration of the Center for Disaster Prevention and Mitigation between China and Pacific Island countries was held this morning in Guangdong. Can you share some details with us? This morning, the inauguration ceremony was held in Jiangmen, Guangdong. Representatives of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Emergency Management, and the Ministry of Natural Resources, leaders of Guangdong Province, and diplomatic envoys from PICs attended the ceremony, and senior officials of Solomon Islands joined the event's via video link. The launch of the center is another major step China has taken toward the building of a community with a shared future for mankind and to deepen practical cooperation with the PICs. The center will contribute to the capacity building of PICs and speed up their revitalization. In recent years, China-PICs relations have made rapid growth, which have yielded fruitful outcomes and brought tangible benefits to the people. Last year, during the visit to South Pacific Island countries, State Councilor Wang Yi announced that China will continue to strengthen the 6 cooperation platforms covering emergency supplies, climate action, poverty reduction, disaster prevention, agriculture, and application of Juncao technology. So far, the first 4 platforms have been launched. China will continue to act in line with the principles of equality, mutual respect, win-win cooperation, openness, and inclusiveness, deepen China-PIC's comprehensive strategic partnership, and build a closer China-PIC's community with a shared future. Next question, please.
Reuters again. I wanted to go back to my earlier question about the Canadian Defense Ministry. It said it's aware of recent maritime and air surveillance attempts by China. What's China's comment on this? Thank you.
还是想再请问一下我刚才提到的。
敦促加方
I answered your question just now. We urge Canadian side to stop unwarranted speculation and smearing against China.
问题。
Next question, please.
谢谢发言人。总台华语环球节目中心记者提问：我们看到有报道说，美国国务院发言人普莱斯他。
The U.S. State Department spokesperson said the U.S. is concerned by the shared vision between China and Russia. What's your comment? The China-Russia relationship is built on the basis of non-alignment, non-confrontation, and non-targeting at any third party. It is a factor conducive to world peace and stability, which is no cause for concern. What is truly concerning is the destructive role the U.S. has played to peace and stability in the world. The U.S. is the #1 warmonger in the world. The U.S. was not at war for only 16 years throughout its 240-plus years of history. The U.S. accounted for about 80% of all post-World War II armed conflicts. The U.S. is also the #1 violator of sovereignty and interferer in the internal affairs of other countries. According to reports, since the end of World War II, the U.S. has sought to subvert more than 50 foreign governments, grossly interfered in elections in at least 30 countries, and attempted assassination on over 50 foreign leaders. The U.S. is also the #1 source of antagonism on bloc confrontation. The U.S.-led NATO is responsible for wars on Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria that killed more than 900,000 and created 37 million refugees. It has also made the Eurasia continent a less stable place. The impact of U.S.-initiated Quad and AUKUS on Asia-Pacific security also calls for vigilance. As long as U.S. hegemonism and belligerence still exists, the rest of the world will hardly get the peace it deserves. Next question, please.
Reuters again. I have 2 questions on Russia. During the meeting between Wang Yi and Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, can you confirm whether it did indeed discuss the upcoming Chinese position paper on a political settlement for the Ukraine war and what conclusions were reached? The second question, Russia said that it's studying China's recently published concept paper on the Global Security Initiative. What's China's comment, and does the GSI align closely with Russia's position on international security? Thank you.
我有2个问题，第一个问题是在王毅主任和拉夫罗夫外长的会面当中，他们是不是讨论了中方即将发布的关于政治解决乌克兰问题的立场文件，这个文件当中达成了怎样的结论？第二个是关于中国提出的这个全球安全倡议的概念文件，俄方表示在仔细的研究这个，你对此有何进一步的评论？
关于你提到的第一个问题，刚才我已经。
First question, I shared information on Director Wang Yi's visit to Russia on the position documents on the Ukraine crisis. We also shared information with you, and we will keep you posted if anything else comes up. We appreciate Russia's support for the Global Security Initiative. Over 80 countries and international organizations have expressed support for the GSI. We believe that more and more people will join us in implementing the Global Security Initiative and contribute to world peace and tranquility.
Next
question, please.
One more question from Reuters. So the Wall Street Journal reported that the Biden administration may release intelligence that shows that China is considering whether to supply weapons to support Russia's war in Ukraine. What's China's comment on this? Thank you.
路透社提问：《华尔街日报》报道称，拜登正在考虑可能要发布有关于中国正在考虑向俄罗斯提供武器支持的这个情报证据。你对此有何回应
Could you repeat your question, please?
Wall Street Journal reported that the Biden administration may release intelligence that shows China is considering whether to supply weapons to support Russia's war in Ukraine. What's China's comment on this?
拜登政府称，他们有情报表明中国可能在考虑向俄罗斯提供武器支持。你对此有何评论？
关于你提到的美方多。
As for the so-called intelligence you mentioned, this is just speculation and smearing against China. Since the outbreak of the Ukraine crisis, China has firmly stood on the side of dialogue and peace and promoted peace talks in its own way. We have played a responsible and constructive role in alleviating the situation and de-escalation. The U.S., as the #1 weapon provider for the battlefield, has been smearing China and saying that China might provide weapons to Russia. This will seriously hinder political settlement of the crisis and undermine China-U.S. relations. We urge the U.S. will stop speculation and smearing, stop stoking confrontation, and work with China to settle the crisis. We hope that if the U.S. did have so-called intelligence, they will provide more information on the Nord Stream explosions. We hope the U.S. will have a serious and responsible response to this event instead of trying to covering up the facts. Next question, please. Anything else?
没有的话，今天的记者会到此。
That's all for today. Thank you.